So let us continue with this reading of Book the Mystery. So once the internet was hatched in 1993, these technologies increased. At this point, there are nanotechnologies of the transistor chips as well as the optic fiber technologies. When the cyber speed hits a certain threshold, it exponentially increases the amount of gadgetry or technological innovation in all of the fields to an enormous degree, skyrocketing the economic market. In 1990s, widespread growth of the new technologies such as that new economic stock market developed and the wealth of the G7 nations grew enormously. The NASDAQ market, for example, was created just to handle new information technologies. The amount of money produced in the stock markets by these new companies was unprecedented. People became billionaires overnight. Different types of internet sites or servers went up, including Yahoo, Hotmail, etc. These companies all swiftly made billions of dollars. Bill Gates and Microsoft led the way, both in profits and monopoly on computer software, the epitome of planned obsolescence. Computer industries accelerated and are accelerating to such a degree that it is impossible, at this point, to assess the impact on human consciousness, except in terms of the democratization of the means of access to the internet technology. This widespread growth has created the possibility of the 2006 Time magazine Person of the Year, which is not a single human being but is you. On the cover it says, "Yes, you. Welcome to your control of the information age. Yes, you. You control the information age. Welcome to your world." Whether you really control the information age or not, or whether this is the perpetuation of great illusion, this is the feeling people have when they log onto these computer websites. The proliferation of the internet is enormous. In 2005, the total numbers of web pages exceeded 600 billion, almost 100 pages per person. At the beginning of 2007, the internet reached its billionth user, and by March 2007, the numbers increased to a total of 1,114,274,426 users. This means there are more than 870,000 new users a day. Sites like MySpace had 106 million people logged in 2006, and so far approximately 230,000 new users join a day. This means that there will be another 64 million people on MySpace this year, and within 2 years it will be boosted to 300 million or 400 million people. And this is not the only site like this one. YouTube, a video uploading, storage, and accessing network, was named the greatest innovation for 2006 by Time magazine. Many YouTube users send video from their cell phones directly to the site. This means that anyone with a cell phone can take a video of anything and make it available for mass consumption. Sounds familiar? Once again, this book was published in 2007. Next, identity of a computer geek. Many creators behind lucrative computer programs are in their mid to late 20s and become million/billionaires virtually overnight. These people, popularly referred to as geeks, are generally so absorbed in the computer world trying to come up with lucrative products that they end up pale and disheveled, wearing old blue jeans and crumpled t-shirts while earning millions of dollars. This geek style is reinforced in magazines and television so that now geek is the style. These cyber industry professionals service the growing mass of alienated humans who, for the most part, have little or no voice in society. Overwhelmed by society and its rate of change and speed, increased numbers of people search for and create their identity in virtual worlds. For many, the cybersphere is the one place that allows them a voice and control over their life. This represents the final stage of the evolution of mass mind into a tightly atomized and divergent consciousness. At this stage, self-promotion is endemic whether anybody has anyone to say or not. In these worlds, people become the fantasy of themselves. However, this is not a necessary stage in the devolution of consciousness. This is not to discount the good and the true that the use of the internet as a tool to create a collective vibration of positive change on behalf of the planet that, at its best, merges into global mind travel fusion. But for the most part, internet web sites are used as a forum and perpetuation of the ego in many forms. The internet represents both the evolution of human consciousness and the devolution of human consciousness. This is the stage of maximum divergence into myriads of individual egoic selves, each having his or her own space in virtual reality to show who they are. By stating their opinions and posting pictures of themselves to project different images in hopes of attracting new virtual friends. On the internet, people can sit behind their machines and voice opinions about various topics or say things about others that they would not dream of saying in person. With the massive increase in population, many people do not know where they fit in or how they can make a difference. So they tattoo and pierce themselves and get a site on MySpace to show everyone who they really are. Sociologically, this is the only response that many people have. Whether the technologies are manipulating them or not, many people have deviated so far from nature that they prefer to play a video game than to take a walk in the park. The alienation from nature and infatuation with artificial society and virtual means is so profound that many humans now live inside the machine, and the machine lives inside them. Many computer magazines exist on the market today, and all contain a similar consciousness expressed by the writers. It seems that there is no question to computer journalists that the only way of the future is through constant, massive quantum technological change. From this point of view, we are now completely absorbed in the exponential rush of information technology chains that quantum leapfrog each other at dizzying rates of speed. Vision is reduced to the infinitesimal nanofractal units as reality becomes increasingly digitalized. The following is an excerpt from Wired Magazine, 2005, forecasting the future of the internet. What will most surprise us is how dependent we will be on what the machine knows about us and about what we want to know. We already find it easier to Google something a second or a third time rather than remember it ourselves. The more we teach this mega computer, the more it will assume responsibility for our knowing, and it will become our memory. Then it will become our identity. In 2015, many people, when divorced from the machine, won't feel like themselves, as if they'd had a lobotomy. Kevin Kelly, Wired Magazine, August 2005. The revolution of information technology is so phenomenal that there is no way to assess the effects on human consciousness, except to view the statistics of proliferation of those logging on. This feeds the machine. It is exactly what the machine wants. To have all the people on it, more and more people spend increasing amounts of time on the machine. And of course, they see less of nature. The machine has absorbed the human psyche to the degree that experiencing nature seems almost unnatural. As technologies revolutionize themselves, they speed swiftly into the mass with cell phone technology, television on the cell phone, digital camera on the cell phone, etc. They filter into mass society at a phenomenally rapid rate. The cell phone epitomizes the continuing revolution in technology itself. And a little sub thing over here to read. We are endlessly accustomed to using photographs, recordings, and biographical data, all of which spring from the idea of personal importance. This frantic, compulsive use of recording every moment with DVDs, video, and tape recorders, cameras, and all kinds is an obsession that represents the final stage of the exhaustion of the privatization of consciousness. Only when we have exhausted this addiction and obsessive exhibitionism can we get to the possibility of living the polysynchronic being. The mode of expression of the polysynchronic being is the consequence of both the exhaustion of the older saturated self-obsessed forms and of the sudden release into the new expanded sensory territory. So now we shall continue. And this next one is called Internet, the Big Energy Hog. As the internet grows, it needs to house bigger and bigger databases to accommodate fast-growing search engines. However, the web is growing so much faster than any present technology search engine can possibly index. The largest search engine is Google, which rose to prominence around 2001. Google's mission statement is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. To accomplish this mission, Google recently bought 500,000 square feet of property in Oregon, enough space to house a vast data center for cooling, backing up information, and networking equipment. What is called nanotechnology is actually operated by cyber dinosaurs posing as data bank centers. These insatiable cyber dinosaurs consume so much energy that it is predicted that by 2010, this technology will be using half the electricity on the planet. If half the world's electricity is feeding the internet, then what happens to global society? What happens to the rest of energy production? Will this not precipitate a further energy crisis? Of course. In the cyber networks, it is to assume that even if hydroelectric energy runs out, they can always turn to nuclear to fuel the machines. Viewed from the inside, this appears as a diabolically endless process. Viewed from the outside, this appears as a major exponential implosion. In 2002 to 2003, UNESCO and the World Health Agency issued a report stating that by the year 2010, the major health problem in the world would be depression. The people who suffer the most from depression are the people who live in urban centers and work at computers 8 hours a day. So we see that we have a society that sells itself completely on its own cyber speed and on its own image. It wants everybody to do everything on the computer. Online banking, online shopping, online ego tripping, everything is done via the machine. There are more and more complicated machines, like automated checkout counters at the supermarket and so on. All of these machines accelerate and complicate the process of identity crisis and identity loss. It is apparent that the vast exponential explosion of information technology is absolutely numbing to the senses and impossible to keep up with. If this exponential information explosion continues, then by 2012 something has to give. The world cannot continue using that much electricity and having that many depressed people without a major shift occurring. Every day, increasing numbers of people retreat to virtual communities. With so much time spent in alternative realities, restricted, basically to their monitor screens. How can they be fully aware to the extent of which the planet is heating up? At some moment there must be an inevitable implosion from the impending external catastrophe and the internal lack of awareness. The human species is feeding its own projection back to itself at an alarming rate. Part of itself is charging itself for it, and part of itself is making billions of dollars for it. At the same time, computer databases are increasingly consuming all of our energy in the world, just so we can feed back our own projection of ourselves to ourselves. This is all that is really happening. The information that is available can be used, but how much of it can be used in a way that does not show up on the internet? Even the information we get off the internet is fed back into the internet, so you end up completely absorbed by the machine. This is the ultimate science fiction reality. Society is completely enamored by the fact that what is happening to itself. But what happens when the entire electromagnetic field collapses? What happens when there is a major solar flare in 2010 and suddenly it all vanishes? The collapse of the electromagnetic field, even for a brief period, would scramble the whole civilization. People would be in a state of shock, especially those who live their life primarily through virtual reality websites like Second Life, where they actually buy and sell things on a Second Life in a machine generated world. But what happens to these people when the electromagnetic field collapses and virtual reality is no longer available? This is an important question to ponder. As human society becomes more civilized, nature is increasingly ignored in favor of virtual reality. But this is all a fragile system based on the functioning of the electromagnetic field. If the Earth's electromagnetic field were to be zapped by a solar flare, then the internet would vanish along with all of the virtual reality. At this time, nature would reclaim its supernatural position as the original galactic superstar, revealing the cyber world as nothing but an artificial dream. Cybersphere and Galactic Maya. In this review of the nature of the cybersphere and its technological means of replication, it is of value to note that simultaneous to the introduction of the personal computer in the early 1980s came the release of the galactic Mayan knowledge base on this planet. The galactic Mayan information streams began their release in 1983 with Earth Descending, a scientific and channeled text presenting an entirely new form of information based on galactic knowledge. This text is a non-personal function of the perception of a different kind of time in the galaxy and cosmos. This was the same perception of time upon which the Maya and ancient Mexico and Central Americas based their mathematics and knowledge. This work was followed by, in 1987, by the Mayan factor, the discovery of the law of time in 1989, and the production of the dream spell calendar in 1991. The dream spell presents the cosmic timing codes of an extraterrestrial origin, defining the synchronic order of the fourth dimension. When we have a situation like Earth today, where the dominant species has created a closed artificial feedback loop addicted to making money off its own projections, while creating faster machines that continue to feed its own projections back to itself, all the while finding it hard to pay attention to the real world that is rapidly deteriorating out of necessity. Out of necessity, higher knowledge precipitates within the field of the closed system. This new higher knowledge has nothing to do with closed systems based on binary mathematics and algorithms, but is rather based on vigesimal mathematics and telepathic systems that have little to do with present-day technology. On a parallel track to the cybersphere was the discovery and unfoldment of the law of time. In 1993, following the dream spell and the definition of the synchronic order, came the telectonon, a genuine demonstration of a type of interplanetary telepathic technology. This manifestation of the law of time was further articulated in 1996 as a set of 260 postulates known as the dynamics of time. This was followed by the discovery of the cube of the law, elucidating a multidimensional telepathic reality based on the law of time. This galactic knowledge was received simultaneous or parallel to the explosion of the cybersphere. Then, in 2002, began the major formation of the Cosmic History Chronicles. The Cosmic History Chronicles were developed at the same time as the final exponential 10-year rush of those information technologies that are creating a large virtual noospheric shadow on the human consciousness. A dream that the human is dreaming through an electronic web. At the same time that this vast virtual noospheric shadow was occurring, the new information form based on the law of time and the 13-moon 28-day calendar was transmitted and received. This is the crystallization of the new knowledge structure known as the Cosmic History Chronicles. The Cosmic History The Cosmic History Chronicles is a medium of integrated consciousness that spans the planetary noosphere and speaks a higher collective voice. This collective history medium, fed by streams of galactic consciousness, operates with superconscious cosmic awareness through different channels of communication that convey information of universal unification. These information streams are processed by higher dimensional extraterrestrial and extrastellar points of precipitation in conformity with the precise moment in time, so that the exact kind of information necessary to offset the final phase of the divergent devolution of the human consciousness is available to trigger the next stage of superhuman consciousness. Now, that was a lot. Pretty much the information telepathically comes in at the precisely right moment in order to trigger the next stage of human evolution. This new knowledge endows the human with consciousness. This new knowledge endows the human consciousness with the possibility of taking its next quantum leap. At the final stage of the divergence and As this final stage of the divergence and democratization of consciousness reaches its peak and dissolves, it sets the stage for an entirely new level and form of consciousness and perception of reality. These galactic streams that feed the channels of cosmic history mediums are creating platforms of consciousness and knowledge that elevates the reflective human to levels beyond virtual reality. The Cosmic History Information Core operates through 4 basic channels streaming the primary sources of the galaxy, connecting the different galactic systems. These channels emanate from the original core of the creation of the galaxy and/or galactic system, the cosmic core. These are the 4 alpha-beta channels monitored by the Sirius alpha/beta binary system. The conscious recognition and activation of these channels is for the creation of the new sense organ, the holomind perceiver. The holomind perceiver can be likened to an intrinsically cosmic telepathic internet chat room, imaginally installed or imprinted in the human brain. This information is coming through now. What David Bowie sang about in Starman, of the aspiration of the Starman to visit, is now certain. The Starman will visit because the information channels are being opened. The platform of knowledge, consciousness, and perception to appreciate the Starman when the Starman appears is now being established through the cosmic history mediums. The appearance of this information stream from Earth, ascending, dream spell, and the law of time to the Cosmic History Chronicles is a stream that has been rapidly evolving, keeping pace with the cybersphere. This is the cyberspheric antidote, containing unexpected, unpredictable, and unprecedented knowledge appearing in the midst of virtual noosphere. Note, the Cosmic History Information channels parallel and complement the channels of the Melavana knowledge received from 1981 to 1993. Note that most of the Law of Time information began in 1993 with the Telektonon prophecy and its culmination of the Cosmic History Chronicles. Some people might confuse this cosmic knowledge with the cybersphere. This knowledge paradoxically contains the cybersphere and occurs because the cybersphere, but it is not the cybersphere. Through this new knowledge, the window of the supernatural order in its entire splendor is opened, breathing fresh air of cosmic reality into the psychic atmosphere that remains after the world of illusion disappears. The new order of reality will dawn. This is what we all have been training for. Even the artistic forms that appear on the internet at sites such as MySpace have been part of the preparations. There are many artists who are performing this preparation of the surprise adventure of the noosphere. This is one of the main points to grasp in this brief consideration of the of nature and meaning of the cybersphere. The issue of identity revolves around the human need for expression. This is the whole point. Mechanized society, on the one hand, says that you are a free individual, and on the other hand, it says that you have no control. So the free part of the individual gets on the internet to exercise him/herself as an artist. This tendency will remain even after the final stages of the devolution of historical materialistic consciousness has passed. This tendency is actually the flower of the human to evolve into its own artistic medium and form. When artificial virtual reality ceases, those who remain will remember the fundamental cosmic laws that further self-expression, not as an egotistical medium, but as a cosmic channel practicing art at a simple level, called Dharma art, art of attunement and the cosmic law. And just reading this last little part, that was the end of it. Just this is a little thing that was back a bit. Computer generated universe. The computer generated universe is a function of the application of certain binary and algorithmic sequences made accessible to the brain of certain inquiring seekers. Through application of the mathematical equations, they can project processes of form generation, which some believe replicates the origin of the universe. However, these machine programs only replicate processes of perception limited by confinement to accepting only certain logical possibilities, and thus discard all else as illogical, and focus on analysis of but one spectrum of a possible reality. Of course, computer engineers may get a model that appears logically consistent with their theorem, but that may be all that it is. This approach conforms to God's seeming law: as you think, so you shall become. How you define your parameters confines the answers. You get the limitations of your parameters. This is no way to understand original creation. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this reading and have reflected upon it in many ways. So wishing you a good day, and Lakesh, and namaste.